listeners. We have an innovative guest for you on this episode. Katie Hooper is with us discussing the Tropical Field Biology research course that she has developed to give students a hands-on opportunity for learning. Katie Hooper is an associate professor and science department chairperson at Zane State College, located in Zanesville, Ohio. Katie has been a professor in the life sciences at Zane State College for 10 years. She completed her graduate degree at Duquesne University through conducting research on molecular genetics. I hope you guys enjoy the interview. Hello and welcome to this episode of the SparkCast podcast. This is Paul Bailey, your host, and I have the honor of talking to Katie Hooper, who is a professor at Zane State College. She's going to give us some insight on her experiential field biology class that she is the instructor of. Hello, Katie. How about let's just get started here and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Paul. Good to see you. So my name is Katie Hooper, and I'm an associate professor at Zane State College, which is a two-year college at Zanesville, Ohio. I have a Master of Arts in Teaching, and I have a Master of Science in Biology. And I have been teaching general biology courses, anatomy and physiology courses, as well as the tropical field biology course that we are talking about at Zane State for 11 years now.
The tropical field biology class, can you tell us a little bit about the course and what it entails?
Sure. So the tropical field biology course is a course that we offer for our honor students here at the college. It is a 2-credit-hour science course. It started out as a special topics course, but now it's part of our permanent course catalog, and it's in our Ohio institutions. And basically, it's a field biology course where students will meet on campus a handful of times to kind of prepare for the travel, to prepare for what they're about to do. We talk a little bit about field skills and the scientific method. And then the majority of the course takes place on Andros Island in the Bahamas at an educational field station called Forfar Research Station. The students travel there, and we stay there for 7 days. The students spend about half their time out on boats in the water, so they're doing a lot of snorkeling. And then we also spend some time inland doing some hikes, learning about some geology of the island, doing a little botany. And so most of the days the students are spending in the field, and then the students will have classes at night. And so they have these nightly lectures where they learn about maybe some of the fish that they're going to be identifying the next day, or some of the corals, again, some of the geology of the island. And so they kind of learn about what they've done that day or what they're going to be doing the next day. The point of the course is for the students to complete a research project, and all of their data collection is done while they're at the field station. So they team up, and together they come up with a project. And then with my help, as well as the help of some interns from the field station that are trained in ecotourism, they do their data collection. And when they come back, and then they write up a research paper, and they present the research paper to other faculty and staff at the college, as well as their friends and family. It's kind of a big presentation night where they get to show off all the hard work that they've done throughout the week. Students also, while they're there, they keep a field journal, and there are some journal articles that we have to read and discuss. There's some quizzes about some of the different information that they're learning while they're down there as well. So altogether, those are kind of all the components of the course.
And from what you were telling me, you are the creator of this course. Why don't you tell us a little bit why you decided to set that up?
Sure, I would love to. So the first time that I visited the Forfar research station was when I was a junior in high school. So a little while ago, I had a biology teacher who took a similar trip with the high school students to the field station. And while I was down there, I just fell in love with the island and with the science and with the biology. And it was something that really shaped my interest in my career path. So about 5 years ago at Zane State, I was given the charge by, one of the deans at the time to think of a way that we could globalize our students, to get our students interested in or involved in things that happen outside of our county or even outside of our state, to try to really push the boundaries of what a lot of our traditional students have ever done before. And so as soon as I heard that this was something that we were being encouraged to do, I instantly thought of my experience on Andros Island and kind of went to work developing the course and promoting the course and trying to get my first group of students together to take down to the field station so I could lead my own trip.
And when we look at the types of students that are going, what types of students typically go on this class with you?
So as I mentioned, this is a course that we currently offer for our honors students. And our honors students are students that have either just graduated the previous May from high school or within a year. And so they're a group of young kind of traditional students that are interested in pursuing either a 2-year degree here at Zane State, or some of them will transfer on to a 4-year institution. They come from a variety of backgrounds. So this is a course that is offered to all of the students. And in the honors program, there are certain courses that they would prefer that all of the students take kind of as a cohort together. And so this is one of the courses that they can take as part of that cohort. And they don't have to be a science major. They don't have to be in a healthcare field. They have a variety of backgrounds. In addition to the scientific research that we do, I mean, there's a lot of experiences that they have that I think are beneficial for whatever career path that they go on. And so we have, again, this diverse range of students. And a lot of the students, and this is just at Zane State College in general, but a lot of the students are first generation college students. And so not only are they coming to college for the first time, but many of them are traveling for the first time. And so I think that it's even, more impactful to them because of that.
Yeah, it definitely seemed that way when we were talking to the students about the traveling and just sitting in the airports with them and having conversations about their experience with traveling and just the trip in general. How about I remember you telling me about some students who have taken this trip with you in the past and how impactful it was for them and how they've been able to share their experiences or how it was able to shape their future career choices. Can you tell us a little bit about those students?
Oh yeah, I would love to. So I have a couple of students who took one of the first trips with me. So it's been a few years ago now that I've run into, that have come back to campus, or that I've seen at a local football game. And they're really excited to tell me that they have gone on to major in biology and that they've even presented this trip to other classes, so that they've transferred on and maybe gone to Ohio University or wherever. And they've actually presented about this trip and talked about why they chose to go into biology. And I just love that. I feel like, we're kind of on like a third generation. I went on this trip with my biology instructor, and now some of my students are going into biology as well. And so I feel like we're really kind of passing the love of the discipline on. And it's so exciting to get to see them and to see the impact that it made on their lives.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe soon they'll be taking trips with their students to Forfar. So after going on the trip with the students, I'd already mentioned that some of them, it was their first time flying, and some of them the first time like just using a passport to get out of the country. What were some of the other first time experiences that the students that have taken this field biology class, what were some of the experiences they encountered for the first time?
So like we said, to piggyback off of the first time for them flying, a lot of the trip was just teaching the students how to travel. And so one of the things that we talked about before we left was, what kinds of things you can pack in your luggage when you fly, what dimensions your luggage has to be. And then when we got to the airport, just kind of managing to get through airport security and getting to the correct gate and boarding and deplaning and that kind of thing. So I think that was one of the things that they could take away, is for the students that have never traveled before. Hopefully they feel comfortable enough now that they will go on and do this in their lives outside of Zane State, that they can take their own trips and kind of maybe, hopefully this ignited that spark for them to want to travel and explore more. So that whole travel experience, there were many students have never seen the ocean. And so getting to see the ocean and getting to snorkel in the ocean is something brand new for many of them. And you know, we didn't just snorkel off the beach. We would take boats out into the middle and then they'd have to just hop off. And so they really had to get outside of their comfort zone to take that first step off of the boat when there's really no land around. A couple of them mentioned that it seemed to them once they kind of got in the water and got acclimated that it was like they were swimming in an aquarium and they were seeing some of these tropical fish that they'd only read about or seen in books, maybe had gone to an aquarium before and seen behind glass, but they were swimming right next to them. And then they also got a lot of cultural experiences too. I mean, they got to see how other individuals live. Andros Island, if you look at a map of the Bahamas, is the largest as far as, you know, land mass in the Bahamian Islands, but it is the most remote. And so it's very sparsely populated and there's just a few tiny settlements. It's a very simple community. And so I think that a big first for them is to just see another culture and to see how other people make a living and how other people make ends meet, and just to interact with people who have had very different life experiences that they have had up to this point.
Yeah, and I know that when we went to the settlement, the students were, you know, I think they had their eyes open on how other communities and other cultures were living. The shacks that some of the people were living in with, you know, solar panels on the roof to get electricity. They commented on that when we were leaving. And then the snorkeling experience, it was, some students were really hesitant to get off that boat, and you could see the bottom. Basically everywhere we snorkeled, you could see the bottom. Sometimes it might have been 10 or 15 feet deep, but it's still, you could see the bottom and you could really see around and see what fish or other creatures were coming around. Our first snorkel day was with a hawksbill turtle, about a 1-year-old, and it was just this little guy who was just floating around. And the interns are really excited to check him out and show him to us. And I do know that one moment we were in a blue hole, an oceanic blue hole, with the intern that was swimming with us and a student, and we had dove down into the blue hole, and about a 5 or 6 foot stingray had come up out of the blue hole, and the student went in the other direction towards the boat, and the intern and I kind of just watched it. And it was just really interesting just to see that large of a creature just kind of swimming around with us. And then hopping off the boat into the tongue of the ocean. Every place we had snorkeled, you could see the bottom, but the tongue of the ocean was thousands of feet deep. And when you hopped off, you couldn't see the bottom. We did drop a conch shell into the ocean, and you could just see it. It seemed like forever, like hundreds of feet down, and then it just kind of disappeared into the darkness. There was, I think, 4 large wahoo that swam underneath us. Couldn't really tell how deep they were because the depth perception was off there. But yeah, that was really neat. I know there was just a lot of experiences where the students were hesitant, and after they overcame that little bit of fear, things were a lot of fun then.
Yeah, it seemed like kind of as the week went on, they got a little more brave. They kind of got a little more used to their surroundings, and they were very encouraging of each other too. So I think another first for them was spending that much time away from their families. You know, we surveyed these students, and some of them had never traveled without a family member. And so being without mom or dad, or without, you know, brother or sister or best friend, to be with a group of students who they knew from class, but certainly weren't, you know, really good friends with before they left, I know a lot of them were hesitant. And so after they spent a week together, and we did these family nights where we all got together in the evening and we played games and we told stories and jokes, and they really, really bonded. And I think the closer that they got as a group, the braver that they got. And I feel like they encouraged hesitant or nervous, the other ones would help them overcome their fear. And so together, they really truly got through a lot of these things that I don't think they ever would have done by themselves.
Yeah, I know that a lot of the experiences, they had a lot of fun and a lot of teamwork. It seemed like the group had to help each other out. Each cabin, the Forfar field station had, I think, 5 or 6 cabins, 6 or 7 cabins. And so each day the cabin had to do the serving for, I think, breakfast and dinner. And that was helping out the entire group of people that were staying there. And then days when we were on the boat or in the van, that they would help load and unload the van. And then some of the research projects that they were collecting data for needed more than just the 2 or 3 people doing it. So when they were doing the research of the diameter of breast height for the local trees, everybody pitched in to help out. And then with the invertebrates, it seemed like everybody was pitching in there to help out too. Really great experience for all the kids. There, one night before the lesson, every night there was a lesson on a topic that the interns would teach about. And one night I had asked an intern to get a coconut, and he had to get the saw out, the long pole saw. I hear in the past that they would run up the trees, shimmy up the trees to get one down. But the intern sawed it down and then used a machete. I thought for sure somebody was going to lose a finger, but these guys are really good at it. So the intern had cut it open, and we were drinking coconut water right out of the coconut. They had poured it in a glass for us, and some students were drinking it out of the glass, and some students were right out of the coconut. And that was a really interesting experience that I think is some of that ancillary learning that takes place that doesn't always happen when you are, sitting in a classroom and you show up for a 1 or 2 hour lecture. Can you tell us about some other ancillary learning that took place on the trip that, wasn't part of the research project?
Oh, yeah, sure. I think probably another thing that stands out to the students is their lionfish dissection. So lionfish are an invasive species in the Bahamas. They are originally from near Asia, and they have no natural predators in the Bahamas. And so the lionfish will reproduce really quickly, and they primarily eat a lot of the juvenile fish that use the reef kind of as like a nursery where they grow and develop until they're large enough to go out into the open ocean. And so they're really decimating some of the tropical fish populations. And so the locals will spear a lot of lionfish to try to reduce the population. And so sometimes when we would be out on our boat snorkeling, the interns would go, they'd take their spears and they would spear some lionfish and bring them back onto the boat. And as soon as we would get back to the field station, we were able to do a dissection. So I think that was really neat for the students to get to see the lionfish in their natural environment, and then it was speared, and then we were dissecting that same lionfish that was speared. And we had previously read journal articles before they went about the lionfish population and why they are so bad for the reef communities and what an invasive species was. So they learned about that before they went. They got to see it live, and then they got to do that dissection. So I think a lot of them, that was maybe one of the highlights of their trip, I think.
Yeah. I think the lionfish dissection was really interesting when they were able to, cut it open and see some of the other types of fish that it had been eating. And I think that was pretty eye-opening to the students. I remember one night when we were, and there was actually more than one night that they had, the students took to weave the baskets. That was a big deal for about 5 or 6 of them. And they were able to take those baskets home that they had woven there with Miss Annie, I believe. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, so Miss Annie is a local legend on Andros Island. She is the person that's credited for kind of starting the basket weaving community. And so on the island, the way that people make a living is basically either from the small amount of tourism that people get from educational groups like ours, from sponging, and so you'll have some sponge divers that will bring up sponges, and our students got to actually talk to some spongers. Wood carving, which they also got to talk to some of the wood carvers when we visited the settlement, and then basket weaving. And basket weaving has become a pretty big thing on the island. And so Miss Annie was the one that kind of started this. And so each evening, Miss Annie would come with, I think it was either her daughter or her niece, and would instruct our students on how to do the weaving with the palm fronds. So they would use those, and each student got to make their own basket with her instructing. So that was really neat. While they were sitting there, she would tell stories about the island and about some of the locals, and just kind of give them the history behind the field station and behind the people that had lived there. Miss Annie was one of the people that I remember when I came down as a high school junior. I mean, so she's been there for a long time, and a lot of the staff that work there have also been there for a long time. They've got great stories to tell about different groups and just different things over the years.
Yeah, I remember a story that she was telling one of the moments that I was down there. She was talking about, she was around when Archie was still alive, and Archie created the Forfar field station. And on our last night there, on the Friday night, we sit around a campfire, and then one of the interns will tell us this Archie story, and that's really interesting to hear. If anybody out there listening would be interested in getting information, what's the best way to get information about tropical field biology class at Zane State, or even the Forfar field station?
Sure. So anybody that's interested can contact me. My email is khooper, khooper, at zanestate.edu, or by phone, 740-588-4159. Or the Forfar Field Station is kind of managed by a nonprofit group out of Columbus called International Field Studies. And so they are who we kind of book our travel, and they kind of do, our travel arrangements. They also do trips, I believe, by boat, which I don't have any experience with, but I know that they do kind of week-long sailing trips as well. They are a great organization to work with. I've worked with them numerous times. They're super helpful, super friendly, and they get you exactly what you need.
Well, that sounds great. We will be posting all that contact information into the show notes as well. That way listeners can just click the link. So Daddy Cool, who was the security guard down at Forfar, he would always tell us to stay cool. So I hope everybody out there stays cool. And Katie, it's been a great time talking to you about this trip, and I wish you very well in future endeavors to Andros.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a blast talking about our experience.
Definitely. I want to thank everybody for listening to this episode, and we will see you on the next one. Hope everybody has a great day. Thank you.